Hello and welcome to The Society with Barrister Fatma Shaheen at PTV World. They say that where words fail, music speaks, and music has that power to change the world. Now, if that is true, we need to understand at a very basic level that when we do talk about music, how has it impacted the Pakistani society? What influence does it have on our culture, on our societal norms, and so many other things that we experience in life every day. Also, having said that, we need to understand the fact that music has this immense potential to actually stimulate political participation, especially when it comes to young people in any society, and how, if at all, music can be that one source of bringing so many people, so many nations together. And to discuss on this very interesting topic, I have with me a very interesting panel too. Let me introduce you to my today's panel. My first panelist for the show today is Ali Noor, who is a musician. Assalamu alaikum, Ali, and welcome to the show. And my second panelist for the show today is Mariam Shams, who is a songwriter alongside being vocalist of Lakeer Ke Fakir. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the show. And my third panelist for the show today is Shams Gondal, who is a vocalist alongside being a guitarist of Lakeer Ke Fakir. Assalamu alaikum, Shams, and welcome to the show. Now, to get the conversation started with you, Ali, what I find really intriguing about you is that, you, like myself, were a lawyer first, and then you switched to music. So how did that change happen?
I was just, had to make a choice between law and music, and I said, I'll do music. I always ended up going to the office, and that's what the rule, that I will work at 500 rupees per month at my grandfather's office. The first day I popped up over there, he said, tomorrow is a case. It's a specific relief case, and you have to go and this is the CPC and figure it out. And that's how my life began. And so the exams were just like, we go at the time of the exam and then take it. But law was probably the most beautiful time of my life.
I think at a very basic level, law is that one profession which gives you that leverage to diversify into so many other fields, whether it's music, because we do have examples from the music industry as well, in that way, like Tahira Sayyed Saiba, and then others as well, so to speak, and then people get into politics, so many other things. When we talk about music and society, where do you see the link? How do you feel musicians or artists like yourself have taken social causes along with their work?
Music is, I realized eventually, is one of the most subjective things, both as a maker and as a listener. I have lived my life thinking that there are such things as hits and, icons and some grandness to this whole thing, but I realized very recently that that's not true. Music never brings social change. It's just a thought that people have had for many years.
Okay.
Music only makes people more sensitized. Music only allows for you to feel yourself more. And interestingly enough, what we realized over time is that us musicians, we're just vessels. And vessels don't have choices. Just whatever comes in them, that's what they have to go with. And when you mess with that, you kind of really go somewhere else. And I've come from there.
Right, so your point is noted. But coming to you, Mariam, would you want to add something to what he is saying?
I think what Ali, you're sharing with us is a very personal private journey, because social change, if we take it in a very academic context, is both evolutionary and revolutionary.
Right. Yeah.
If I'm allowed to use the word tafakkur, and you use sensitized, that reflection that has started in, I mean, let's please not disregard how amazing it is when a great pop song comes out.
Tell us about your own work in this regard,
well,
your songs. Where
my husband will beg to, disagree with me on this, and he'd like to say, no, we like to write about social topics. So what do we write about?
Intellectual dishonesty.
I think that is one of your most popular songs.
Circumstantial upbringing.
Right.
And
protocol hunger.
So what makes you touch such taboo topics when a lot of people
don't think about? We don't think about.
So it comes to you naturally, something which didn't happen with Ali.
So this is how we make music, me and Mariam. I come up with the melody.
Okay.
We keep on playing it for like months and months, and then there's a mood that sets in. And that mood actually defines the ultimate topic of the song. And it is during the writing of the song that you realize we are writing about this. So this is how we come up with this. So we are keeping it purely artistic and no
But in the
pollution
course
from
of keeping it artistic, you are talking about issues which of course
Yes,
affect the
they come up,
society.
they
Because
come
you
up.
see, there is no separation that way.
Yes.
This is all operating in a one wide umbrella that
Achha,
way.
in a way, we are a little different musicians. Because of our ages and our experiences, like we have seen, we are one of those lucky generations who has seen Pakistan go through so much. The advent of the new technology and everything, and
I was about to come to that,
everything,
basically,
like the awareness,
The entire
the level of
digitization,
awareness,
basically,
yes, the level of
which
awareness,
has changed the nature of everything. And then COVID itself,
like
too,
in
which
southern
adds to
Punjab,
it.
in some days, people would not even realize कि इतनी जल्दी a certain news can come from Lahore to southern Punjab.
Right.
Like the moment it happens,
Ali, you want to add something?
I've heard a lot of Pakistani music. They are very, very, very unique and very appropriate
Right.
for what they're doing. Actually, you guys at Mehdi Maloof are two of the finest lyric writers I've seen in the
Thank
country.
you.
Is this being
Right?
recorded?
And they have so much depth. This
So,
strikes
so let me
you.
just tell you one
Please.
thing. I just laid out an intention that I want to try this out, and I found a lot of success in it. I think what you need to understand over here is that the real serious social change is something which academics just record and write down and talk about it.
In hindsight.
In hindsight, that's what I was going to say, in retrospect. So, for a musician, it doesn't work like that.
I understand
For
that,
a
of
musician,
course.
it seems like the whole universe is his throne.
Right, Ali. But coming to Mariam, I think we should also talk about, since the show is about the society and music, we should, touch all contours in that regard, about women, accessing the music industry, so to speak. So how easy or how difficult was that for you?
Well, Fatma, you must realize that I represent a segment of society that probably doesn't even exist. I am an empowered. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a musician. I'm a professor. I'm a daughter. I'm
Musicians like
I'm a
yourself out
teacher.
there.
I am allowed to hold a position of power at
Right.
work, at home. However, what I did find whenever we would walk into a space, and remember that when we walk into a space, both Shams and I are walking in as musicians, and literally, Ali, you also come across a lot of people who are working in collaborative spaces. There would be times when people would only talk to Shams. And I think it was you who actually asked me. He literally, came up to me and be like, "What do you do? Speak." But what that did was that it made me reflect what it is that I actually do. And that's when I realized that I think more and more women, and again, I would never dare to speak for that 18-year-old goddess with the guitar. Oh my God, these girls who are out there, there are, our eldest has these class fellows and they're playing, and we don't even know that there are fans, and that's how we get respect, because otherwise our kids don't think we're anything. And these girls, they're coming up and they're owning their space and they're not making it about gender.
But do you feel that, is that a general thing or is that an exception?
What, the discrimination?
Yes.
I think if you just want to think about discrimination in terms of how many positions of power are women holding, just like I'm misinformed about it, it's just when you start to look at the younger lot and you start there are so many girl coders out there.
I can
So
kinda
meaning
like tell
they
you if
need
you guys
more
are
projection,
interested.
right?
Yeah, oh, please.
That
Now you
there
go.
are girls.
There
Like-
are
Okay.
girls.
So
A lot
my
of
next
girls.
music
Yeah.
is being produced by a 23-year-old girl.
Wow.
She knows how to produce, to mix, to record, to sing.
I think the thing is not gender. I think it is access to instruments, access to music. I think if it has to be
Circumstantial upbringing.
a disenfranchised
But at
group,
the end, madam,
is
it does
income.
affect the music. That's
Well,
what I'm
it does,
saying.
but I
Whether it's
wouldn't- if-
access to safe spaces, whether it's access to the industry, whether it's access to anything. I understand where
yes,
you're
but
coming
again,
from.
again, the thing is, why don't we? If you have to list down
Right.
5 challenges, I wouldn't put gender up till maybe number 4. I think first would be access to instruments, access to producers, access to these minds.
So coming to you, when we are talking about challenges, I think it's only fair to keep this whole conversation in the context of this pandemic that we are living in. And COVID, as we all understand, has, affected so many things. Music, I would also want to think, has been affected that way, because we now don't have that benefit of seeing, musicians performing live as much as we used to before. So how do you see the music industry evolving post-COVID-19?
Again, COVID was a big thing happening in the last 100 years. Already this pandemic happened after 100 years. So we went through a lot. Everything has its good sides and its bad sides. One thing that all of us got to know during this pandemic is that the essentials, what is absolute necessary, and there are
Right.
things that just we don't care about them right now, especially in this situation. So for musicians who were working outside and were really actually relying on live performances, they got affected, obviously. And worldwide they got affected, and because their homes were running because of that. But as far as their soul is concerned, artistically, the soul is the main thing, in my opinion.
course.
So they really got this time by Allah Mia to
Do some soul searching?
work on their music, sitting in their homes and just do
I put
some.
out an album.
Yeah,
during
yeah.
the pandemic,
See.
I made videos.
So-
and
Do you
was
know how
singing.
many
Yes.
musicians would just go live?
I was just about to come to that. Tell us about your work during COVID.
So what happened during COVID was that we had moved into a farmhouse, and I just thought that because everybody's bored, so my friends Ahsan and Noman and everybody who make music with me,
Right.
I just said, let's move in. And they moved into this place.
Oh,
we
so
were
you went
living.
old style, right?
Oh yeah, and we
Pura
recorded,
old
and then we made videos there, and then we edited and shot it. But the cool part was that this time I experienced the most collaborative thing in my life, even bigger than Noori. 'Cause 7up, and you know, if you look at the credits at the end of the day,
Experience.
it starts not with my name but the other guy. It was like I said, we didn't even have any credits for who did what. It was just called. The album was called Pagal, and
And this is very beautiful song which you dedicated to your wife in it. I was going over it when I was
yeah,
researching for
Tere
the
Saath.
show.
I think it's the craziness that drives it. I think it's the fact that the eccentricities of a
Right.
musician actually make him or her who they are, and the music cannot happen without
Of
it.
course, it has to come
There's no
naturally.
propriety to it. There's
Right.
no rules to it. There's no right and wrong to it. It's all about being honest, but most important, it's about real love. Real love has no conditions, man. It's
And-
very soft. It's very, as I said, it's very subtle.
May I
And I think it's
interject?
all encompassing
There's
that
a
way.
song that we've written, Fatma, that I believe is a love song and Shams believes is a national song.
I think in this regard, since you are the most senior musician here on the panel and taking benefit of, mashallah, your wisdom and experience in the industry, so to speak, I would like to ask you that when we talk about the challenges, she gave us a women-centric kind of a view, and with him we had the COVID-19 perspective on that. How do you see the challenges that young musicians face today, different to what you faced when you entered the industry?
Okay, when we were doing music in 2003, 5, and whatever, YouTube hadn't kicked in,
Right.
and there was a lot of retention because of radio and because of those channels, and I think we got the most benefit of it, and that's what gave us the benefit. I mean, that's how we were able to survive as musicians. So clearly, there were no challenges for us. It was just
Right.
very lucky. And then after that, we kind of went into the internet age. And at that time, everybody could put out a music video. The studios became all portable
Right.
in your phones and everything. The cost of making music and music videos went down to zero. And then people started doing and making use of that benefit. And then you had there are probably more songs in the world than the population of this world. It's literally that simple. Right now as we speak, and I think 85% of those songs have happened after the internet.
That is how exactly internet has affected the music industry. Yes.
So then the challenge is only one. How do you get heard? How do you
This is
get
exactly, sir,
noticed?
what I was about to come to, basically.
So it has completely changed the dynamic.
The dynamics, the contours, everything, the feel of the
Yeah.
music has changed as well.
So it's very hard
Right.
to say that this is it. It's clearly a transition phase, especially
Right.
for Pakistan, because
Yeah.
as I'm working with these new musicians, because they are the first ones that are a product of sheer, I call it BIY to DIY. They believe themselves to do it themselves and not take help from anybody else. So step number 2, or the idea number 2 here is that as this happened, there was this strange, in fact, completely contrary to what was happening in 2003, the insecurity started going away. The competition started becoming less. I don't agree with that the competition is more today, because the only competition could be who's got more numbers. The competition I've experienced. I know what it meant, who's going to go first,
Right.
who's going to, and that was a pretty sick,
Thing.
ugly thing that one had to deal with. And eventually we all decided we're always going to go first. Today that's not happening.
Yeah.
Then Corona happened, and then
Right.
shows stopped happening. The only way musicians could survive is by helping each other, and that's exactly what happened. I'm privy to it. I've been involved in it.
Coming to you, Mariam, would you want to add something to what he is saying?
again, I don't think it's a very subjective, conscientious process that you sit down, Shams, we have to do our homework today, we have to listen to all the top 40 and we get our, you know, our 19-year-old and our 14-year-old and our 16-year-old, everybody sits down at a table and decides, okay, this is the music of today. I know, thank you, I get paid to talk. But the point is, it is such an organic process, and for us as musicians, again, I find it such a
So
big
you
thing.
basically are of the school thought that you people did not face as much challenges as
No,
young
no,
people
we
do.
have no money coming in from music. We love performing. Performing is where we get our energy from, and we recently did this thing where, you know, it was like energy from the band and energy from the choir and energy from the audience, and oh my God, I would sell
I'm saying it
I
before
would
that.
sell my
Totally.
firstborn for that.
Yes.
Oh my
Right.
God.
And the last
Right.
born.
I get it.
You know,
Yes.
and,
Beautiful.
and
Choir, oh my
It's
God.
just beautiful.
and
Yeah.
and the thing is that
jealous.
to bring it back to that,
Yeah, you must
what our challenges is what in agar, if you're asking us as musicians, at least for the two of us, I'll speak, is that you've got to define what it means for you to be a musician.
Right.
A lot of musicians I know are running their kitchen by other sources which do require the use of that technology that musicians also employ.
Right, Mariam, your point is noted. But coming to you, Shamsi, I think in this regard, we must also talk about this fact that, you know, we see generally that these days there is a lot of focus on marketing of, you know, media persons, musicians per se, especially if you want to, you know, make it big that way. And this is in its own way, it's justified too, because of course you have to market yourself the right way if you want to promote your work. And this is something true for, I think, any profession that way. But what are the cons of, you know, marketing yourself too much?
This is where I would tend to differ from you.
Right.
About the about how an artist should go about things.
Okay.
Arts define the reactions, the reflex actions of a society. Already our kids go to the cinemas, they look at a movie and then they see the hero or the anybody doing something, and then their reactions to it. And then obviously once they will go to a certain park and see a certain situation, they are going to do the same. It is about, so an artist should not be thinking about these things. Art is...
But sir, what if they want to genuinely sell their music?
This is what I'm coming
Right.
to, that if they want to sell, art is like the hurry that they have in selling themselves is actually problematic.
Okay.
All right. They have to first build themselves as artists, and then if some business, art is different, business is different. If you try to be a businessman while being an artist, or whatever you want to become otherwise, it starts to affect it, your art. All right. And it most of the times the quality goes down.
Right.
It's all about soul. Art is all about soul. And so if you want to keep it intact, other than that, we are living in a day of Instagram, Facebook and things like that. Back in the 90s when Ali Noor's Manwa Re came, I got it from Napster, remember, which was banned ultimately. So I got it from Napster and we were...
But I think, sir,
we were
the
always
presence of
searching
all
for
these
songs.
social media mediums that you've mentioned, be it YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that, I think that in itself puts forward this urge or, you know, the need to
Yes.
market yourself.
And that's-
You have to be out there to be seen, sir.
That's
Things
where
were
I'm-
different when
that's
he
where I'm
came.
coming. That there you get to see actually
Right,
that
so-
whoever has talent
Right.
doesn't need those special tricks or anything. There are amazing singers on Instagram who don't even show their faces, all right, and they sing and we are dying to just they're waiting for their next
I
video.
think they're very
or anything.
lucky, but,
so
but
the thing
I think
is-
I understand what
so-
you're
so
saying.
the
You
thing-
need to work on your work and make it so
Yes.
good that you don't need
Yes,
marketing
be an
per se.
artist.
Please.
Don't, everybody
Right.
wants to be an influencer. Everybody
Right.
wants to be. This will be my suggestion to all the youngsters who are trying to come into music. Build yourselves as an artist first. Try to learn what being an artist is about. It is not about your image. It is about learning yourself, discovering yourself. It is not about, like in all the other things of the world, you are the center of the universe. It is an artist who knows that he is not. He is part of it.
Okay.
And he is happy in that.
So that is the advice you want to give to all the young musicians out there. Mariam, you wanted to add
Yes, I
something
want
to what
to add
Shams
to
was
this.
saying.
I think we're using, you know, the concept of musicians and art, and I think if we just, because in my day job, I counsel so many kids who are coming to us, what do we do if you want to make money? I think the first thing to put down on the table is what is it that you want? If you want to make money,
True.
then yes, you put that down,
Of
and there
course.
are ways around it. We're clearly, I mean, not the two of us are not very big success stories as far as money from music is concerned. Ali can give you a workshop on on it later. But what
Ali,
needs to be...
I'll take your narrative
but
on
what
that, of
needs
course,
to
because
be
I'm sure you have something
identified
different to
is
say.
that somewhere along the line, that spirit, whatever it is that needs to be done, why is it that we still would go crazy for a Doors album or for an Alamgir, you know, some, I don't know if you can find that TDK tape or something. So it's because it was good. And it's because people did their homework. You've got to do your homework. We've come across the younger lot where they have the concept of the video in their head before they even have a single lyric or a single note down.
Wow, wow,
No, of course,
And
that is very
That's
true.
beautiful.
But I'm just talking generally,
That's
like we
beautiful.
should consider, you know, all sides of this thing. Of course, you guys, I agree with what most of you people have said. But coming towards, you know, the Coke studio, there are some things that I would want you to elaborate on for the benefit
Sure.
of everybody. That, you know, they say that it is a double-edged sword in the sense that, of course, nobody can deny the fact it's that one studio where so many young people have gotten a platform to, you know, perform,
Yes.
which they otherwise didn't have.
Yeah.
But then there also has been a lot of social media bashing where people have said that, you know, this fusion of music is just not doing justice
Sure.
to music, so to
Sure.
speak. So how do you see Coke Studio? Because that is the new evolving thing now in Pakistan.
As an outsider, I'm kind of indifferent. Why? Because I'm an insider. As an insider, I'm only interested in as much as I'm a part of it, right? And that means my experience over there. I had the best time always. And it has always been, you know, with all the, sometimes the songs are hits, sometimes they're, you know, but my personal experience all along has been that I just had a damn good time.
Right.
And as far as what people think about it, yes, it's got weak songs and it's got powerful songs, and some songs are just, they're neither here nor there, and that's all right, I suppose, right?
But sir, do you
It's-
feel like, I understand that, but do you feel that, you know, as a musician in Pakistan, I'm asking this question, usually people say that, you know, if you want to be known, if you want to be mainstream, you have to be part of Coke Studio. Would you agree with that line of thought?
Completely disagree with it, because when we would produce for Coke Studio, we don't look at, we just find that song that we're looking for. Let me just set this out very
Right.
clearly. And as I've been a part of it with all the producers, they never, I mean, it's just bad choices and good choices, but it's always those producers searching for those songs. They're not interested in who's how big or how small. All I know is that it's got the same problems that any other place would have with the people with their
Any organization, yeah.
weaknesses.
I'm
and their
glad you've
strengths.
clarified this, you know, misconception, because of course not everybody has that benefit of being in the industry and understanding this.
Yeah.
This is a general perception which I, as an objective bystander, saw and, you know, observed. But coming to you, I think we need to also talk about the need to revive original content in Pakistan. So how precisely do you feel can we do that?
What happens is when we give birth to a song, it's our baby for that time, and then we take it to various producers, or various producers
serve the
are,
song.
you know,
And they
then
embellish it.
and they embellish it. And there are times, like the last song that we've done, is the way that it is now, the arrangement now, Ali, it's completely off.
If
like,
you guys
it's like on
recall
its
that
head.
when I asked you to send me your song, I said, please just do with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you said you were not used to it, but when you did it, you realized
Yeah.
the power of those
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah, and that's how it is.
The greatest
Okay.
songs are always the ones that don't even need two chords.
So
Because
we are
minimal
actually, we
music.
as
Yeah.
artists, as musicians, we would love it if somebody would pick something of ours and give it that EDM feel, give it that sort of heavy rock feel, or, you know, maybe just a kind of a completely choir-like feel to it. So it's, I think it would be a very generous movement.
Right.
If people just forget about how they're, you know, as you said, that exclusive, the paradigm has to be more inclusive as opposed to people just being on the sidelines of it. You have to learn to share.
When we talk about music, we also, at a very basic level, and this is something which is recognized internationally, we must make sure that it's diverse and it's inclusive. And when I talk about inclusivity, it means something which is for all and which includes all sections of the society, minorities, everybody that way, basically, and all.
I can only
Ji.
speak from the organization that I come from, which is Foreman Christian College.
And also, exactly, I would like you to, you know, comment on this from an educationist perspective.
Well, we are a liberal arts college,
Right.
and in liberal arts education, just for the sake of simplicity, it means a more holistic holistic approach. So even if you're a biology major, you can take up a music course, or you could take up an arts course, or you
Very
could
nice.
take up a
Right.
literature course, which allows for this cross-pollination of ideas,
Wow.
and
Exactly.
which allows for
This is
students
exactly
to
what
be
I was
able
drawing
to
on,
pick
which
up a
in the
guitar
West we have.
and sing their
Right.
hearts out in our courtyard till we decide mid-semester that this is getting out of hand, and ek se do is the break, and that's when they're allowed to play.
Right.
But the fact is, we need to give spaces. You know,
Right.
we talk a big game, but how many of us open up our own spaces? You have to allow for people to
Circumstance.
come together and not be afraid.
Precisely, madam, why I posed this question, that should be inclusive of all that. Shams, you wanted to add something to what she is saying?
Have you heard that song Gangnam Style? All right, it is one of the most famous songs right now. We don't understand the lyrics. We don't understand what he's talking about. Nobody knows what the music is. But so in the modern times, there's no formula. All right, you have to have content. There was this guy who, there's Pen and Apple, and that got the most insane videos on YouTube right now, like billions of views, not even million. So there's no formula. Inclusivity means that we are creating those circumstances, not using those derogatory words. Like, for example, if I was from the military academy, once I told my dad that I want to pursue arts, it was a little hard for him to digest. Not because he was a bad man, it was because
Very
of his
well said.
circumstantial
Yes.
upbringing.
Of course.
Very
All
well
right?
said.
And I must say here that in the 21 years that I stayed in PAF was one of the most golden times of my life. And PAF taught me this, all right,
Wow.
to live my
Wow,
life.
I love it.
PAF taught
Very
me
nice.
this fighter pilot attitude.
Very
Told me
nice.
that I can go on and do anything if I
Wow.
have the right team.
Beautiful.
Another thing that I learned from the military, that there's nothing compared to a good team.
Wow.
The way you can operate with another fighter with you, you can't operate alone like that.
So how can music be made more inclusive and diverse?
I totally agree with Mariam also that it should be made more inclusive in a way where it is like the circumstances should be made right for every child in Pakistan to experience that. I'm sure you have read that book by Etizaz Ehsan Saab. It's called Indus
I
Saga,
have.
and it tells you about how our Indus River and the people living around it are like, we have the Qawwali, we have Naats, and we have Tilawats. So music is already there in our society,
Right, sir.
but we have to make it more accessible for children who want to explore other
So
instruments.
precisely what I
Yes,
was saying,
yes.
that way. It
And
has to be more, the barriers need to be set down a bit, it has to be made more accessible, and I think it needs to be made personally more mainstream.
mothers really count a lot.
Right.
I really am thankful to my mother for giving me that music sense of things, and that is with her naats and her rhyming of different poems and whatnot. So mothers have to be educated in that regard. They should realize that music is as important as mathematics or Urdu, English, whatever.
Coming to you, Mariam, would you want to add something to what he is saying?
I think what all three of us have agreed on is we need more generous spaces. We talk a very big game about change coming from the top. Why is change not coming from within us? I'm sure Ali, whenever given the chance, if the project is right, will open up his mind, heart, soul, and all of that, and even the technological process to include more musicians in the process. Of course, there's going to be some logistical cost to it. We have recently been part of an elaborative effort which was all about collaboration, brought about by NCA boys and girls, which had nothing to do with the state. It is just a space they have. It's called the Colony.
Right.
Anybody from any aspect of society, any color, caste, creed, religion can go and perform there, even if they don't have a background in music or art. We need to stop talking about it. We need to just do more.
Do things.
Everybody needs to just
Okay,
open up,
two
especially
things,
the
right.
musician community,
Yes.
in whatever realm that they can, include more musicians.
Right.
And of course, then it is this younger lot,
Of course.
and by programs like this, it will come into being that it needs to be part of the curriculum.
Coming to you, Ali Saab, and coming towards the conclusion of the show, so what message would you want to give to people out there, especially who do believe that, you know, music and society do have a link?
So I have an answer.
Right,
I have
sir.
a solid answer, which I
Right,
experienced personally. And you might find this interesting, something that I didn't think I'd ever do. I, for the last 1 year, started playing gigs for free for everyone. And I said the only thing that I demand for it is that A, there will be no stage. There will be no stage. There will be no idea of this rock star and everything.
Right.
We're going to go from this front to, back model of the audience to how the Mehndis used to work. We all sit in the center. We don't know who's the singer. We don't know. Everybody sings. Now, I think that everything else up, you're all right. And I think the only thing that I can contribute today is in a way that I think is new for me. The rest of the stuff, I don't disagree with any one of you.
Right,
You're all
sir.
right. It's just fun stuff going. You guys get all angry and everything. I like it. It's nice. It's nice to watch it. It's like a movie. But the thing that I think we can all take home is that when there's so many musicians and so many listeners all over the place, it's going to be very hard to know who's a rock star every day. It was getting very tiring for me. That should
Right,
I
sir.
quit music and go back and just do law or something like that? And I said, I'll give it one last try. I'll just see if I can experience something which is non-hierarchical. I mean, I'm very bitter towards life. I'm very bitter towards living a life where everything has been about right and wrong. Structures, systems, you have to practice to get good. And yes, I listened to it. I did really well at it. And then one day I got just tired. We all get tired. Maybe
Of
someday
course.
you too will. And that's when I realized the only solace I experienced, and you can smile on that, is when I saw the depth of what this thing called this strange tafarka, this discrimination. It's not, but this gap
Hierarchy,
that I'm here and they're here and they're okay. So in the past, what used to happen, I'd finish a gig and I'd just go backstage with
Detached,
my big thing, and then now I just jump into the audience. And
You're
then
one
I
of them.
and I'm the last one to leave.
Ji.
I make sure. So I suddenly realized that one thing that the new generation can consider, that if they aspire to become the next Atif Aslam or the next, U2 or whatever, it's a great aspiration. And almost all musicians start with that. They have that feeling that, we must get to that space and we work hard for it. But most don't. I thought, what's the solution? And that's the only thing I can recommend. That how about we kill the stage? It's a crazy thought, but
Hashtag kill the stage.
yeah, but if we kill the stage, the audience and us become one. We don't worry about our protocols and our. I think हमारा गाना था होर भी नीमा हो फकीरा. I didn't get it till very recently. And you know what I realized was that song is not talking about just humility, because he's telling to the fakir, which is the epitome of so-called effort. He said, even if you call yourself a fakir, you're not humble. The nothingness that one experienced. So I'm just speaking on my behalf.
Right, sir, I understand.
When I got off the stage with everyone at the same level, I realized that felt like union. And I know there's many buts to what I'm saying, and there's lekins to whatever I'm saying, कि वो तो सही है, लेकिन, but I'm tired of lekins. So I think if the children can consider, if the young people can consider, if there can be a more egalitarian approach to the
I
listener
understand.
and the maker, I think we have a bit of a future out there.
Right, sir, your point is noted. But coming to Mariam, what would your concluding message be in this regard? If there's one thing that you would want to change about the music industry today as we start.
I'll again talk about it from the point of view of changing a specific, not just the music industry, but a specific mindset that exists. So there are
Right.
two things that can be done. There can be institutional change at the formal level.
Right.
And that allows for more women to be included in decision making. There aren't enough women in the production business. There aren't enough daycares in the production business. Needs that are just specific to women. And for that, all of that, in any industry, especially the arts, you need more representation
Right.
of any disenfranchised group.
Right.
Secondly, this mindset, that informal vibe, so to speak, in the language, if we're allowed to say it like that, is, I think, underway. The youth is equipped, they've all got their smartphones, they've all got their instruments, they've got their voices, and they know what they want to say. Yes, there is a lot of misguidedness also, but that might just be the parent in me kicking in, thinking that I know more. There are distractions, but then they're all the better for it. I think a lot of policy is needed. A lot of generous space is needed.
Policy, institutional strengthening, because unless we take personally,
Yes,
I feel art as an
and
institution
generous
series.
spaces. I
Right.
cannot spell it out more vehemently that this is what is needed for the musicians of tomorrow to feel safe in. We all come from think I can speak for us that we, and from what little I know of you, that we do have spaces where at least we didn't have to worry about putting food on the table for our
Right.
families. We did have alternate careers to fall back on, but not all musicians have that luxury. So that space has to be created from within
Right.
and from the top, and
Of course,
you
it's a
know,
combination of so many things, because until unless you get an infrastructure right, you get the policies right, how will you be able to, implement it? But having said that, of course, I agree with you on the fact that the change has to come from within.
Yep.
So what would your concluding comment be on this regard? We understand the fact that art is something that is here to, remain. How can we ensure that it's strengthened that way? Because personally, I feel that we need to strengthen the institution of art per se if we want to, expect some positive change out of it.
Obviously, if we want to go the next step in anything, you have to think about the organizational structure of that certain thing.
Right, sir.
So in Pakistan right now, it is the big brands that are handling the big audiences. Definitely, if the government comes in and goes through a proper structure by following some other country which is also following certain structure, and with the main aim of helping out the musicians and getting their word across, and
So I think with
the
regards to
training
the
and
royalty thing, they have been basically proposing a very important bill, which is a very pressing,
Yes, yes.
issue in your basically profession that
Yes,
way, and
yes.
they are, wanting to bring about
content
policy.
theft and things
Right,
like that.
so
So,
basically.
if you look at advanced countries, you see that they also have very good labels that are supporting musicians, and they support talent actually, the right content. So we should, the government should make such amendments where they welcome such labels to come in our country or develop from our country.
And in this regard, I think it's very important that people like yourself should sit on the table with the government as well, so that they also get a real life narrative. Like I've learned so much from you people, sitting here with me on the show today. Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you so much, Mariam. And thank you so much, Shamsa, for being here with us today. Well, to conclude today's show, we generally spoke about the role of music in our society. We also spoke about how music has evolved in the society over a period of time, its potential to actually affect society, culture, political participation, so many things that we genuinely experience every day in our lives. Having said that, I personally feel that music is that one medium of expression which can actually bring about positive social change. So if musicians are given this power to influence people's mind, they must use it in a way to advocate positive social change. On that note, signing off for today. Until next time, take care and Allah Hafiz.